Hello there and welcome to this new episode where we're going to be talking about how to become a better developer, how to make more money with your skills, and how to self-improve. So hit the like button, share this and subscribe, and let's jump right into it. So today we're going to be talking about 7 coding tips and tricks you can use to improve your productivity and become a better developer. I know coding can be very intimidating, especially when you're starting out. A lot of people want to get started, but the main barrier to getting started is that it's difficult. But we all know that is what is actually beautiful about everything. When it's difficult, it's valuable. And since it's difficult, not many people are going to do it because as human beings, we are wired to do easy things. We are wired to be comfortable. Now, if you're able to get out of your way and be uncomfortable and do something that is difficult, you excel. That's why we are here today, to learn ways in which you can do the difficult things in an easy way. So the first tip is to choose a very good IDE. And who says good IDE says autocomplete. So you want to make sure you download an IDE which has several autocomplete features for the language you want to use. For example, if you're using Java, IntelliJ IDEA is one of the best Java IDEs out there. It has autocomplete for nearly everything you can think about. Most of the time, you don't even need to write your variable or what you want to write in full. You just write the first 3 letters and it already provides a large list of options for you to choose from. So IntelliJ IDEA is one of my favorite, especially for Java. You can also have other versions of IntelliJ for other languages like Python, but I'm a Java developer, so I always recommend IntelliJ IDEA. Some other popular options are VS Code. Who doesn't use VS Code? You can also have Atom. I'll always say IntelliJ IDEA. If you can even go further and pay for the subscription, it's even better because it has more features. The second tip you need to learn intentionally to make your life easier as a developer is learning keyboard shortcuts. This one comes in very handy because there are a lot of very tedious tasks that you can do when it comes to developing. For example, you might want to change the name of a variable in your code, but now the variable is being used in several areas in your code. Let me say, for example, you use the variable 100 times. Are you going to select that word one by one for the number of times it occurs in your code? Obviously not. That's going to be too tedious. What you do is that you use a shortcut. So you just double click on the word, press Alt, Shift and the plus key, and it's going to automatically select the word and the number of times it occurs in your code. And you can either delete it or modify it. Depending on the IDE you use, always try to make research on the shortcuts. Many IDEs have several helpful shortcuts that makes your life easier. The third very useful tip is to utilize snippets and templates. This one comes in very handy when you want to insert boilerplate codes for a set language. For example, HTML, you always have to put your doc type HTML, your HTML tags, then all those very repetitive stuffs. If you're using VS Code, for example, and you want to enter the boilerplate code for every HTML document, all you need to do is just to tap the less than sign and the exclamation mark and press enter. It's going to automatically generate the boilerplate code needed for you to work with. The same thing goes with React.js developers or React Native developer. There is this very cool extension for VS Code that has several React snippets and React Native snippets. The extension is called ES6 or ES7 for VS Code. I'm not very sure, but I'll just link it up on the screen right here so I shouldn't forget. And tip number 4, learn version control. I know a lot of people are just excited about the coding aspect. They're just excited about creating stuff, building stuff, and that is totally fine. I love building stuff, I love creating stuff, but at a certain point you need to learn version control. And one very popular version control system out there is Git. Version control allows you to track changes, collaborate with others, and even allows you to revert to previous states of your code. It's a game changer when it comes to productivity. So let's just put it into perspective for those who do not know what version control is. So imagine that you're having this idea, you're having this very cool idea that's going to change the world. Then you spend a whole week implementing the idea, you're coding, you're implementing this feature, that feature. Then along the way, you're like, no, I don't want to implement this feature anymore. I want to keep the previous changes. Let's say while implementing a feature, you've been using a lot of variables, a lot of functions from one class in another class, instantiating objects here and there. Then when you want to delete that feature, you have to go and delete several variables in several different files, several objects in several different files. That's going to be extremely tedious and it can even break your code. So if you're using a version control system like Git, all you can do is just to reload a previous commit. Anytime you work, you commit your code. So anytime in the future, you can revert back to a previous commit. This can come in very handy and can even save your life. To be honest, you have saved a lot of lives before. So start using version control today. Tip number 5, break tasks into smaller and manageable pieces. Instead of wanting to tackle a large project as a whole, what you want to do is that you want to break that large project into small little parts so you can manage it and deal with it easily. You know what they call divide and conquer. This method has been used since the dawn of time, even to conquer empires, even to overthrow governments. You divide the bigger tasks into small tasks, conquer the small tasks, then move to the larger ones. And at the end, you combine everything and conquer it. This will make your work way more organized and less overwhelming. Tip number 6 is to utilize documentations and online resources. I know even though I don't give this tip, a lot of people will say they already know it, but I see a lot of beginners only depending on tutorials, only depending on courses as their only source of knowledge. You have to take it as a habit to read documentation, go to sites like Stack Overflow, ask questions if you're having a problem, or read other people's questions and the solutions that have been provided for their questions. It can be way more helpful than watching a tutorial and just copying and pasting what somebody has already done. Right now, when I want to learn a new language, I do not go to tutorials anymore. I read the documentations directly and understand how and why things work in that language or in that framework. So get it as a habit to read documentation, ask questions on Stack Overflow, and just make research, read articles. All these are invaluable resources that can really save you hundreds of hours of headaches. And the final and the most important tip, practice consistently and refine your skills, because the best way to become more productive is by practicing. Some people say they are too slow in implementing projects. Some people say they are too slow at solving maths. The only reason you're slow is because you do not practice enough. When you're able to do something fast, it's because you are so good at it that your brain is already like on autopilot. You don't need to think about it before doing it. You already know what to do even without trying hard, just because you've practiced so much. That is why it's very important to keep on practicing, keep on refining your skills, and things will just come in automatically for you. So how do you do to practice consistently? Set aside regular times during the day where you can practice. It can be 1 hour, it can be 2 hours, depending on how much free time you have. Challenge yourself by trying to learn new things, trying to solve new exercises. Don't just stick with what you know. Go out there, go inside the wilderness and find all the difficult things you can find in code. Try to implement it and solve it. By solving the most difficult problems, that's how you do to learn. Even though you make research, you have to ask here and there. As long as you get a solution, you learn. This will not only improve your productivity, but make you a better programmer as a whole. So that was it for today. You just had the 7 coding tips that is going to increase your productivity and make you a better programmer. So use this knowledge very diligently and carefully. If this video was helpful, share it so you can help someone else, and see you in the next one.